Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group, the U.S. accuses Russia of interfering with 2024 elections. And CISA moves away from trying to influence content moderation decisions on election disinformation. It's Thursday, September 5th, 2024. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. Here are today's top headlines. The U.S. government formally accused Russia of attempting to interfere in the 2024 elections as the Department of Justice unveiled charges Wednesday against multiple individuals and seized dozens of domains they say were part of a wide-ranging campaign to influence American voters. During a press conference, Attorney General Merrick Garland said the operations, quote, make clear the ends to which the Russian government, including at its highest levels, is willing to go to undermine our democratic process. 2 employees of Russia Today were indicted in the Southern District of New York on charges that they used foreign shell companies to direct $10 million to an unnamed Tennessee-based company to disseminate Russian disinformation on social media. They also allegedly invented a fictitious private investor to engage U.S.-based social media influencers with large followings to spread similar content. According to the indictment, the U.S.-based company describes itself as a network of heterodox commentators that focus on Western political and cultural issues. An identical sentence is used on the website of Tenet Media, which lists numerous conservative commentators like Tim Pool, Lauren Southern, Benny Johnson, and others as talent. It's not clear to what extent the founders of Tenet Media were aware their activities were being directly funded by the Russian government. The indictment includes numerous examples of messages between 2 of the founders where they discussed receiving payment from the Russians for their work. On a call with reporters, a senior DOJ official declined to answer directly whether the U.S. government viewed Tenet Media or its founders as active participants in the scheme, citing an ongoing investigation. However, a senior Treasury official said the scheme involved RT executives seeking to covertly recruit, unwittingly, American influencers in support of their malign activity. In a post on X responding to the allegations, Poole said he was unaware that the payments to Tenet Media were from Russian government and that he has always had sole editorial control of content put out through his podcast called Culture War. In other election security news, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is moving away from petitioning social media platforms to take down false or inaccurate posts about elections. CISA leadership continues to express confidence that the nation's election infrastructure is well protected for the 2024 elections, citing a litany of improvements to election security made since 2016. In a briefing with reporters Tuesday, Director Jen Easterly said CISA continues to regularly communicate with technology companies, social media platforms, and other stakeholders about services that tech companies can offer to state and local election officials and security measures for the election cycle, while also sharing observed tactics from malign actors. In past election cycles, CISA's work included sharing information and flagging specific accounts and posts spreading false information for removal or content moderation. However, Easterly made it clear that that work would not be part of CISA's election security mission this time around, saying that CISA's role is to work with partners on overall threats to election infrastructure. The move represents a notable shift in CISA's previous approach to combating disinformation at the outset of the Biden administration. Until mid-2022, CISA regularly forwarded third-party reports of election-related misinformation to the platforms, though the agency also included disclaimers that it would not take any favorable or unfavorable action toward the companies based on how they use that information. That doesn't mean CISA is stepping back completely from its role on election-related disinformation. This past week, Easterly responded to a post on X from owner Elon Musk that suggested the U.S. was overly reliant on paperless voting machines. Easterly said her response to Musk's post was her way of, quote, helpfully pointing out what she saw was additional context that was really important to a story that came out. For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back tomorrow with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.